Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Edge of Liiberty right here on the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. It is already the 14th of April. Tax day is tomorrow. One of the other reasons why it was the most taxing day of my life. Joining us in just a few seconds, Rowdy Rick Robinson from KLRN and all of the 54 shows that he's on over there. And we'll bring him in shortly. I apologize for being out last week, but I had a more important mission. I secretly, and without my daughter's knowledge, decided I was going to redecorate her whole room. She got to that point where she's almost 11. And the little girl stuff had gone away. Dolls are no longer cool, et cetera, et cetera. She wanted a grown-up room. So she splits time between my house and her mom's house. And I took the opportunity and I was able to procure a whole bunch of new decorations and stuff, and all by myself. I spent the week redecorating her room, and much to my chagrin and shock, I actually did well, and she was very surprised. So I apologize for not being here last week, but yet I don't apologize because I was able to take care of my daughter, and that made me super happy. This week, man, we have a lot to talk about. This is going to be one of those shows. The topics I have is I bring Rowdy Rick from KLRN in, who's munching away, which is exactly why I brought him in at that exact moment. I was watching him. This is going to be one of those weeks, Rick, where it's either going to be hysterical or we're all going to be angry by the time we get off the air. And I haven't decided which way it's going to go yet.
Well, right now I'm leaning towards hysterical because when you mentioned one of the topics, I just thought of something. I was like, Jeff Bezos has just insured lesbian space, which is the next generation.
We're going to get to that at the end, and my comment, because, yeah. And I wasn't the only one making the jokes, but man, that one actually made me laugh. I don't often type something and giggle as I'm typing it. And that one, I was like, this is going to piss somebody off and be funny all at the same time. But I want to start off with, this one's serious. And Rick, I hope you can handle the stress of this one. This one's,
I don't know, man. I don't know if my heart can take it.
Have you seen this guy yet?
Oh, my Lord.
Prepare to be frightened.
Wow. MAGA, Peter Thiel, Trump, J.D. Vance, Elon Musk. Fear us. Mass.
Fear them.
You are the 1%. We are the 99%.
We're back to this.
Think about it.
Rick Robinson, where were you when the whole "we are the 99% thing started?
Well, so here's the thing that drives me nuts about this entire argument, because when the leftist liberal commies, and yes, I repeated myself thrice, say, we're going after the 1%, what nobody tells you is they're looking at the world stage, not just America. We are the 1% to the rest of the world. That's why they keep trying to tear us down.
Yes.
Duh.
That is why it is why they all freaked out when USAID got closed down and all these other money, because that's where a lot of their funding just to keep them in the race came from.
Yeah. Well, don't forget about his little brother, Yusuf, too, and like the computers that they found.
It's so funny because I don't know if you follow Kerry Sloan on X, But she posted earlier that there's a major gun control group who suddenly might be closing its doors and laying off its entire board because it doesn't have the funding to continue.
This is my shocked face, I promise.
I gotta find it now because it made me laugh. Yeah, here it is. Carrie Sloan posted this on X. Major gun control group facing financial collapse. March for Our Lives, one of the most prominent youth-led gun control organization in the country, announced this week it has laid off 13 of its 16 full-time employees. This report by the 19th News and journalist Jennifer Gerson.
It's going to go back to being run out of somebody's garage again. I'm so sad.
It's still, Rick, it still brings up the point that until something comes to fruition, in this case, this gun control advocacy group, I don't think we will fully understand the reach that USAID had in our life and our politics.
Well, I mean, you and I probably do. The folks that are watching shows like this probably do. But what astounded me is all the people that I knew that were kind of on the fence that were like, wait a minute, you mean we really were the reason the rest of the world could have all of these cool social programs and they're laughing at us because we can't afford them while we're the ones paying for them?
Right.
I said, how long have you been talking with me? And you're just now realizing I've been trying to explain this to you the entire time I've known you. But
well, and not to toot our own horns, but we have been, not just me, you, other people on KLRN, other people on SHR, and other conservative that started once a small podcast back in the day. And actually, I want to talk to you about that in a few minutes. We've been saying this for years. And never mind, like when they ask, well, how does the CIA get its funding for all of its black ops? Well, let me tell you.
You just found one of the ways.
One of the biggest ways, right? Because all that money going for the $6 billion for Ugandan condoms or something like that. You really think $6 million in Ugandan condoms are being distributed all over Uganda?
Yeah, no, trust me.
Or is it about $25,000 in condoms and the rest went to somewhere else?
Yeah, the rest is like, shh. You never saw this money. You know where it came from. You don't know where it went. All you know is we gave you condoms.
And everyone in the chat room, Big E, welcome, of course. Earl Jackson, Mission Ready Men. Reaver Common Sense, Jersey Joe. And, of course, the amazing Lost Wanderer is in the chat room. Thank you, gentlemen. If you want to get into the chat room, go to YouTube, SHR Media, click on live chat, and come in and berate us. Please berate us.
I mean, Jeff's in there, so he's going to do it anyway.
Rick, a question. Yeah, Jeff does a great job of berating you anyways. He likes me.
He just ragged on you for your hat. I think it was you.
It's not a Canadian hat.
Maybe he just didn't make out the logo. But
yeah, I was going to say it's the Killdozer hat. I'm really horrible at showing stuff. It's a Killdozer hat. It's the most American hat going.
Anyway, so I didn't mean to distract you. So
that's all right. I just brought up what we've been saying for years, and it kind of brings me back to a question I've been asking myself for the last couple months, and I'm sure you've asked yourself. If we knew, or even more so, if we got out ahead of the throttling of small podcasts and conservative podcasts years ago when we first started, because obviously you and I go way, way, way back in this. Jersey Joe does as well, from the beginning of really when podcasts started.
Okay, I misread him. He was talking about the dude in the video, not you.
Oh, yeah.
He does like you better than me.
Asshole. I was going to say, look at how quick you were to automatically assume he was making fun of one of us, though. That's pretty fantastic. Had they not throttled us, and not just our little networks that we've had for years, where do you think media would be right now? And then little networks like ours, where we'd be right now, had it never happened? Because as the throttles and the taps are being opened more and more, and our reach is starting to get back to really what it was when, SHR was in its heyday, when we had shows around the clock, when we were getting, Sackheads was getting 10 to 15,000 actual downloads a week. Do you ever sit and wonder what if?
I mean, I used to a lot because I'll be honest, and I've had to have the same talk with some folks that have come on board and automatically, just expected because they can see some of us that have been doing this for a long time pulling in, 5, 6, 7,000, 8,000 downloads a week or views in this case. And they're like, "Well, I expected to be able to do that." And I'm like, "Do you know how long it took us to build up the following that we have? None of this is overnight." But the thing about it is, one of the things that's always driven me the craziest about this kind of stuff, and the reason I stopped, doing well, what if I had managed to get something to take off before or this, that, and the other? And it's the same argument I've had with myself because it took us until 2024 to start doing video streaming. Because look at my face. There's no reason anybody should be seeing my face on camera.
Mine
But
too.
we don't really have a choice anymore because that's just the way things get noticed. And when I was beating myself up because honestly, when the first time we fired up, I got like 200 views. And I was beside myself because that's the kind of I got that's the traffic I used to get in a week, and I was getting it in an hour. And I started kicking myself. I was like, dude, if I had done this just a couple of years ago, there's no telling where we would be right now. And that's when Amish and a couple other people were like, look, dude, you're doing it now, and you're doing it when you were supposed to be doing it, or you would have been doing it before.
And I do understand that. I harken back to the days, and one of the most disheartening things is for us, I think, especially Sackheads, when we were still the trio on Wednesday night, when iHeartRadio bought Spreaker,
I don't
we
really
went
get started on that.
we went from 10,000 a week down to maybe 100, maybe 100. We were absolutely throttled. And of course, Facebook, from the beginning, we were throttled. We weren't on YouTube until kind of the very end. But it just, do we want fun perspective? Lost Wanderer, we always want fun perspective, my friend. Um,
Just no
and,
probing.
and it just, as we go into this and you see, so many of these medium-sized networks starting to fire up, and some of these podcasters on both sides of the aisle who have, some have a lot of talent, some have absolutely no talent. I have no talent, but here we are. Um, it, it,
Yeah, you've got your Boston thing going for you, so it's a lot.
it that's because I'm an angry motherfucker. Um, but yeah, no, that really struck me the other day. Actually, I was going over some of the downloads because we still post to podcasts. A lot of people don't know that. All of our shows can be found on podcasts over on Spreaker if you want to download and listen in the car. But I was really thinking about it. I was like, man, of course there was I walked away for a few years, and if I didn't do that and I kept Sackheads alive, what if? But if that never happened and we actually had the beginning we should have had, because much like we had shows from noon to 11 o'clock at night almost every day, Monday through Friday. I mean, and some of the shows had some great pull. And it just blows my mind to think like what really sends it home for me is when I see podcasters who started after me in the White House right now at the press room. That's really when I'm like,
No, yeah, I do have to admit that stings a little bit, but at the same time, though, I mean, and this is me trying not to preach too much, but everything that's happened the way that it did because because we needed it to happen this way. I
I
mean, I honestly I don't know where I would be today if things had blown up even more quickly. And but it's not just that though. Some of what pisses me off is the people that are, part of this so-called new media that are doing the same things the old media did just to get attention, which makes them no different than the old media.
right.
Or the people that I helped along the way when I was first coming up and had no idea and had to learn. And then I'm like, and then somebody would hit me up from another network and be like, "Oh, hey, what about this? How did you do this? And how did you do that?" And I'm like, "Fuck it, I'll help you." And
Yeah.
then a few months later, I'm realizing they figured out how to do something that I've been struggling with, and I'm like, "Hey, how did you? Oh, I'm sure you'll figure it out."
Well,
That's what pisses me off.
and I think it's one of those things too. And we never held the keys to the castle. I was never like that. We had so many people come and go through our network that we helped, and even after the fact, much like you just said, we'd have someone come back and say, "Hey, how'd you do X, Y, and Z?" And we'd tell them. I had no problem telling them. I wanted people to be successful. I didn't think that any of the knowledge that I had was exclusive to my smooth gray matter. I'm pretty sure they could have gotten it somewhere else, and I don't mind helping people. But it's just amazing every time I see like a podcaster in the press room. I'm like, really? Come on, dude. Like, come on,
So
dude.
I do have a question about that because I know you signed up to try to even see if you'd have a shot at the same time that we did.
Yes.
Did you even get like an email confirmation that they received your sign up? Because
I did get an acknowledgement of the sign up. It was obviously a form letter or a form response, but I
I
did never
never
get
even got
anything
that. That's why I was
past
curious. Well, I never even got that. That's why I was curious. I was like, they never even acknowledged that they received it. And I always signed up. Hell, I signed up like 3 different times. I mean, but at this point, I'd have to send somebody that I know that's in the DC area because I'm not making the trip just to show up and be like, "Oh, look at me, I'm in the press room."
that.
No.
I'd live in my truck if I had to, because I'd have a blast with it. Because even though it probably wouldn't last long into the next, depending on who the next president is, eventually the road would come to an end, most likely. But if you did enough to gain the notoriety, they almost have to keep you at that point.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing though. They're shifting up so many things in the press pool now that I think we may, and I say we loosely because the podcaster crew may be starting to work on getting a permanent seat at the table. But one of the things that astounds me is while you have like the White House and the press corps finally acknowledging, the little guy, you've got folks like iHeartMedia that are turning their back on the little guy because
Yes.
I just found out that our number one station in our market has completely gotten rid of any live local programming. They don't have any at all anymore. One of the guys that I know that used to work there is now working for an even smaller outfit at 96.9, and I didn't even realize that till today. I was going through his Facebook. I'm like, 'cause I was like, you know what? Every time I turn on the station, I don't hear him anymore. And we're friends on Facebook. So I went and started looking, and I guess in February he moved to 96.9, and he was like, "Yeah, KTOK decided they were and which is owned by iHeart, decided they weren't doing any local programming at all." And I'm just like, "You guys are losing the entire reason that radio exists in the first place."
Well, and I think at some point it'll go back. Um, you know, and I said this before with terrestrial radio, everything's streamed to the internet now, but there's still people who listen to terrestrial radio and they always will. Local news I think will never go away. I just think that there will always be a market. It may not be a big market, but there'll always be a market there for it.
Well, yeah, it's just weird to me. But yeah, no, I mean, back to your original question. Yes, I actually have thought about that a lot over the years, and I've actually even been kind of bitter when I saw people that I helped get further than me, and
Yes.
when I asked them for help, they were like, "Oh no, I'm sure you'll figure it out." But the other thing is, most of those people aren't doing this anymore. So
Yeah, no, and I'll tell you there's one person I think is specifically who left SHR and has gone on to bigger and better things. And that's for us is Melanie Collette, who still calls me all the time and we're still friends and she's
oh, I
still.
know. She's been
Oh
on
yeah,
your show. I remember.
Melanie is just awesome. And things like that made me happy where I'm like, she didn't start with us, but she was with us for a long time. And to see her now move onward and upward made me very happy. I'm going to change subjects before we go to break because we had 2 minutes and I just think this is perfect amount of time for your response. What do you think of this dream ticket for 20?
Well, as much fun as that is to laugh at because it's like it's like the Odd Couple on steroids. You have to understand that this could, if things don't start going the way we expect them to go, and there's no indication right now that they won't, but if they don't, this could become dangerous eventually because they're embracing the populism of the left, which is what got Trump elected. So
What I find absolutely hysterical is all this is a more woke version of Joe and Kamala.
pretty much, well, no, well, it's the commie version of Joe and Campbell.
That's what I mean, more woke commie.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And what's amazing is the leftist Bernie Sanders is an outright socialist communist. There's no question. in my mind, any guy who is worth millions upon millions of dollars who does nothing but scream how millionaires are ruining your life and does it not ironically
Well, no,
is
hang on,
mind-blowing.
hang on. He changed his language though, because you remember every rant used to be about how the millionaires and billionaires need to pay their fair share in taxes. Now he only says billionaire. I didn't
Yeah,
make
no, he has gone up to that,
I didn't
but he
make
still
my
holds on to
company.
the oligarchy. The oligarchy's gonna come get you all. The oligarchy, I've been saying it since 1984, the oligarchy. When he is the oligarchy on the Democratic side. He has 3 houses. He's worth what, $8-9 million. Admittedly, not as rich as some other Democrats. So I guess he has that going for him. But he's standing next to a bartender who had a 450 credit score and didn't have a pot to piss in. That's now a multimillionaire after being in Congress for just a couple of years.
Dude, she became a Congress critter based on a social experiment akin to a Netflix audition. That's all that was.
It really was. And what's funny is people forget this. Going into the last election, she was being eaten alive by the ultra leftists at public events for for things that she was supporting, bills that she passed, killing jobs in New York. Like, she was not that popular. And I know they're only getting the attention that they're getting right now just because it's uncontested. There's
Yeah.
really nobody pushing back against them right now. They're just driving around and having little parties here and there. But when you start digging into both of them, they're both just ripe full of things that you can attack. The
Yeah.
aardvark and the inflatable doll. That's what Lost Wonder just called him in chat. Bernie would be 86. No way. Look, they tried to push Joe again. Do not for a second. One of the things we have to accept is mental acuity is the baseline for this. We made that argument with Trump. Hey, it's about mental acuity and ability. It's not about age. And if Bernie is this, look, he's been batshit crazy since he was 25. But if he's able to maintain his level of batshit crazy in the public setting, you can't say he's too old. There's no such thing anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say if anybody knows anything about good old Bernie, it would be the Lost Wanderer, because that's actually one of his Senate critters. Yay, fun times for him.
Look, Bernie has said a lot of things. And I will say that Bernie is one of the few that is honest about himself, but I don't think he is inoculated against the hunger for power. I think that if it was thrust upon him, he would take it.
I mean, well, the thing about it is, the funny thing is, in 16 and in 20, the actual voters wanted him. If you go back and
he was screwed
twice.
Bernie was screwed twice. Hillary screwed him. I'll tell you, with the cactus.
Oh, that was a mental image I didn't need, so thank you.
Oh no, she bent him over with a cactus. I mean, she stuck it to him hard.
No, that wasn't a cactus. That was the strap-on she uses on Bill.
Sadly, I think Bill would actually tell you if that was going on. I don't think there's even that happening in that house. But yeah, no, Hillary put the whole Democratic Party put the boots to him. We railed about that for years, saying, wait a minute, you guys call this an open primary or whatever, and look at what happened. They sidestepped the guy who actually was winning, and they did it again. They found another way to subvert their processes with Kamala. No Vaseline. No. She actually threw a whole handful of glass in first.
So I know you said we're about to take a break, but did you
I'll do one.
Did you hear that that Michelle Obama finally broke her silence about why she didn't go to Carter's funeral and to the Trump inauguration stuff, even though Obama did?
So I always worry about these setups from you, because I can never tell if this is going to be comedy or if this is going to be legit. Because 2 reasons. One, you have a tendency to find something that just sprung while we're on the air. You've done that to me a few times that I haven't got to see. But number 2, you've also set me up with this before, and then all of a sudden stuff's happened. So no, Rick, I haven't seen the reason.
No, this is straight news. So this broke last week, and I haven't had a chance to talk about it yet, which is since we were talking Democrats, I figured I'd bring it up now. So the media announced that she's obviously not leaving Barack, blah blah blah, yada yada yada, because she broke her silence. And they said, well, why weren't you here? Or why weren't you there? Let me clue you guys in on something. When a woman says this phrase, it means she's already got one foot out the door. I've been doing what's best for me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, and what's best for me is probably like a 28-year-old cabana boy somewhere. That's what she's been doing. I look, I think that was a marriage of convenience, even his last year into his presidency.
By his, do you mean Mike or Barack?
Well, Barack was technically the president, so we'll stick with Barack for right now. And the other thing,
I was going to keep it straight news. Don't look at me like that.
I was actually under the impression. I always thought that Michelle wanted to leave the spotlight after they got out of the White House, like completely. I thought they kind of wanted to do what the Bushes do and only show up for funerals and stuff like that. And this is legitimately what I thought at the time. And I think the reason why now, like this, she's become so headlong into it. It's almost like, fine, you want me involved? Now I'm going to be very involved. And it's almost that like angry response where now she's just like, well, fuck you. I'm going to be bigger than you are if you want to force me to stay in this nut house.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny because dude, even the tone of voice she used, I was like, dude, this is what every woman says right before they're done.
Yeah. Well, I know it. Trust me. Anywho, we are talking about Democrats, so I want to stay in that. We can stay there till the end of the break. The attack. This is the Pennsylvania, the guy who attacked the Pennsylvania Governor Shapiro's house. And as BZ points out, he's not a MAGA Trump lover because it'd be all over the news. However, I am going to be the first one to say this, and I know you'll agree. This sort of action is never okay. I don't care who's in charge, this is not acceptable. His children were sleeping in the house. He broke in, lit the house on fire. Had a hammer, said if he saw him, he was going to hit him in the head with the hammer, a la Paul Pelosi.
Sorry, I just saw what Earl said.
Oh yeah. No, his timing is impeccable. One of the few times in the last couple of minutes I'm trying to be serious, and he throws that up and absolutely just knocked me off the horse there. But is this not? And
2.5, Jeff.
I'm gonna lower that bar and keep it to 1. I do have a question though. The leftists attacking leftists. This is the second, what is apparently a very prominent attack on a Democrat governor. Does it seem like they're eating their own is just continuing? And I don't want to victim shame, because obviously Governor Shapiro didn't do anything about this. I'm talking about this lunatic who did it, and the Tesla lunatics, and the one who even went to Paul Pelosi's house was a leftist, as much as they try to say he wasn't. Isn't it weird to see the leftists kind of eat their own?
Well, I mean, sort of, I guess. I mean, those of us that have done this for a long time have known there have been not public splits within the Democratic Party, because they've always presented a united front in front of the cameras and everything else.
Right.
But we've known that those splits have been there. And the problem that you have here is in between Barack Obama basically clearing the bench when he was president, and then and then it turning into this whole, Trump halftime show of stupidity, and then Trump again. They're beside themselves because they thought they were never going to have to deal with this man again. And so it's broken them, because they've seen them try to throw everything they can at him, everything that has always worked before, everything that worked with Mitt Romney, everything that worked with pretty much every Republican president that did never win. because they use the same playbook all the time. But they haven't had to worry about fixing it because up until now, it ain't been broken. They have been playing the same card for so long that the voters that voted Trump don't care. So now they're doing everything they can to try to hold on to their base, and they're using terror to do it. What they don't realize, though, is because they are targeting Tesla, and up until 5 minutes ago, almost everybody that drove Teslas was a
was a leftist.
now they're losing even more of their not crazy base. But the irony of all of this, especially with the Tesla stuff, is what a lot of these who are apparently raging leftist commies don't understand is you are sharing the pain, because all you're going to do is drive up everybody's insurance rates because of all the claims that are having to be filed against Tesla. So welcome to communist hell, bitches.
Real quick before we hit the break, I blame the media and I blame Democrats for lying to their constituents. They knew what the real numbers were going in the last election. They knew Kamala's inside polling said that they were going to lose. The media all knew that he was going to win. They knew this was happening. And then when things start to spiral and all of a sudden the big letdown comes because these people have been obviously lied to, they don't know how to react because they're emotional, they're not logical, and you get stuff like this. We're up against the break. We'll come back with Rick, and don't worry, we're going to get to Blue Origin before the end of the night. That's going to save to the end just because I want to go out with a bang.
Which is the next generation.
We'll be right back here on the Edge of Liiberty, the SHR Media Network.
Freedom. One nation in all of human history was built on that bedrock. Ours. A republic of the people, by the people, and for the people. Self-government requires freedom, just as freedom requires an individual willingness to self-govern. Freedom has made America exceptional, but it can only last as long as you and I seek the good, as expressed by the laws of nature and nature's God. It can only last if you and I choose to act as people of character. Forging character has been the pursuit of Hillsdale College since 1844.
Ever dream of escaping the daily grind? At Escapist Travel and Tours, we make those dreams your reality. From breathtaking adventures to cultural immersions, we offer escapes tailored just for you. Let us take you to places where every moment feels like a new chapter in your life's adventure. Visit www.escapist.travel or call us today at 1-855-885-81776. Your escape awaits.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? And check out Seven Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with Seven Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com.
Welcome back to the Edge of Liiberty right here on the SHR Media Network. Simulcast with our good friends at KLRN Radio. Hey, do me a huge favor. Hit like if you're watching, wherever you're watching from, YouTube, whatever. Like the episode. Subscribe to the network. It doesn't cost you a thing. You get a free show every time we go live. And like I said before, even if you hate us, you can come in and harass us in chat room, and we'll let you. We'll let you. trying to get caught up on all the chats. Look, if you want to chat with all the great people that are in chat, Beezy's there, Lost Wanderer, Cheater, Big E, Jersey Joe, I feel like I'm missing somebody. You can do that. YouTube, search SHR Media. You'll see that we're live. Click on the show, and you can come in and harass the hell out of each other. And that would just be absolutely wonderful. I am joined this evening by my good friend Rick Robinson from KLRN, the Rick Robinson Radio Show. He's on like 94 shows.
Well, it's not just the ones that I'm on. I also produce a bunch. Which, if you don't mind, I'd like to make an announcement.
Of course.
Never mind. Fuck you. I was going to say, how can you mind if you don't have one?
That's a good point.
But no, so unofficially, but as of right now, it looks like Corin Nimick will be joining KLRN Radio the first Sunday.
Wow. That is fantastic. Congratulations.
So yeah, we're still working on the we've got a show concept. We're working on the art, and he's actually going to reach out to a producer friend of his for music. And I'm like, hey, can I use that producer friend of yours too?
Yeah, exactly. Everyone needs a good producer friend.
But yeah, no. So we just finalized the date. So he's going to start running with us Sunday nights, starting the first Sunday in May at 7 p.m. Eastern. So
fantastic. Looking forward to it. On Sunday nights, huh?
I got Parker Lewis to do a podcast. It's kind of awesome.
That's pretty cool, man. Hey, Rick, do you remember that there was a fire in LA not too long ago?
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So one of the things that was a problem that led to that fire was the mismanagements of forests in the state of California. And this has been going on, 15 years now, maybe a little bit longer. I think Governor Moonbeam started it, where we stopped managing the forest. And as a result,
raking is racist, Sean. You know that.
God, that was a good Moonbeam. I'm impressed. As a result, we've had some horrific wildland fires in the state because they were not managed. They want to blame economy. I'm sorry. They want economy. They wanted to blame climate change. I'm thinking two steps.
Well, I mean, climate change is all about economics.
It is all about the economy. So I wasn't wrong per se, but they wanted to blame climate change. But the reality was they were appeasing the leftists. They were appeasing the green people. And according to some people, they were intentionally allowing it to happen for personal gain. But when we've screamed at the state of California and said, hey, why are you not managing the forests? They said, oh, because it's bad for the environment. We never really did that, and blah, 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 blah. And then Governor Newsom released this today.
In January, in the middle of winter, we saw some of the most destructive wildfires in California history. And sadly, conditions are only getting more challenging. So today, we took steps to expand and accelerate our wildfire safety all across the state. I just signed an early action bill that will add $170 million in funding to prioritize wildfire prevention, clearing brush, thinning forests, building fire breaks. That's on top of the $3 billion unprecedented investments that we've made in the state over the last number of years. Hundreds of thousands of acres treated, currently 2,200 projects being advanced. But we're not stopping there. Today, I also signed an executive order making sure wildfire safety projects don't get mired in delay and red tape. I've suspended regulations and replaced them with a process for streamlined.
Isn't it amazing, Rick?
So when did Gavin Newsom turn into Donald Trump?
So isn't it amazing when you're about to try to run for president in a couple of years, how you start all of a sudden trying to rewrite your own history? He will now be. Oh yeah, no, and Democrats will go along with it. He will now be known as the man who stopped the wildfires.
By doing all the things that Donald Trump said he should have done in 2016 that he told him he was a fucking moron for saying in the first place.
And I believe this time around said, if you don't start doing it, we'll have to rethink wildfire response on a federal level because you're not doing enough to stop this. And remember, it's not just The state-owned forests in this is huge. There's a lot of federally owned forests that do get managed by the federal government. Let me rephrase that we're not getting managed by the federal government, that will be now again managed by the federal government. And now the state's jumping on board. And you're right. This did come after Trump said, hey, you need to do this. But what I find amazing is two things. As I said, he is rewriting his history before he runs for president. He did that with the trans thing recently with girls and boys sports, or boys and girls sports.
Oh, yeah, I've always thought that was a terrible idea. Really?
Because you didn't say anything.
The internet's forever, dude. I know about, we watched you sign bills.
Yeah. And then now you have this again, an attempt to rewrite. But one of my favorite things is he came out and he said the quiet part out loud. I signed an executive order to get rid of red tape and miring in these projects. In other words, I could have done this at any time. At any fucking time on any bill, not just the wildland firefighter stuff, on any bill, homeless bills, crime bills, you name it, I could have done it. But now, because it will benefit my political future, I'm suddenly going to use the power of the pen.
Yeah, but let's see if it actually happens, because let's not forget there was all of this supposed cutting of the red tape to make sure that Palisades could be rebuilt. And they were like, well, and the whole thing was, if you're rebuilding the home where you already had it and you're rebuilding the same exact home, then we're not going to make you go through the permitting processes or anything else. Guess what? That's not happening.
I think it's 6.
Last I thought it was 5. I think it may be
5?
up to 6.
Okay. 5 rebuild permits. 5.
Yeah, 5.
For people that did nothing wrong. That's the amazing part. Look, if the whole neighborhood was having like a bonfire in the middle of the neighborhood and it got wiped out, then you could say, well, you kind of had a hand in this. None of those people had a hand in this. None of them were anything but victims. And I don't care who they voted for or what they believe in. They were victims of a wildfire that was caused by mismanagement of forests. They say it wasn't, but now we know it is, because he just released this video all but admitting it.
Yeah, all but admitting that, we know that up until now raking has been racist, but we're going to do it now.
Well, and that's exactly what this video is. This is an admission. As much as they denied it, this is an admission. Yeah, we're not suddenly doing this just because it's April and we feel like it. No, we're doing this because eventually it's going to come out that our mismanagement officially led to these fires and the fast spread of these fires. But yeah, 5 or 6 permits for the victims is just unconscionable.
And I know we didn't mean to take the show in this direction, but I just have to say this real quick.
Yeah.
Because another thing that pissed me off about those fires is watching James Woods all over the place telling everybody the story about how he was getting all these notifications on his phone about all the different fire alarms and everything else that were going off, which would have led any reasonable person to believe that their property was gone. So he started making the news round saying, hey, this is what's happening. We're about 99% certain, if not 100% certain, that our property is gone, because the notifications I was getting on my phone was every alarm in my house was going off simultaneously.
And the whole neighborhood was confirmed to be gone. He was the only one on the street that survived.
But then he goes and finds his home is still there, and he's like, oh my God, it's a miracle. And they're like, no, you're just the lying grifter who told everybody your house was burned down, and it's not. Fuck you.
His whole neighborhood was gone but his house. He got lucky. It was a miracle. And like you said, everything to indicate that his house was gone had come, just like it had for thousands of other people in that neighborhood. It's just, that whole thing was just a disaster. It's just horrific.
I mean, the word clusterfuck is used way too often anymore, but this one literally was.
Hey, Rick, if you have to go around telling people you're a nice guy, what's the rule of thumb on that? If you have to tell people, no, I'm a nice guy, you can believe me, what's the rule of thumb on that?
If you have to tell people, it means they can't see that you are, which means you're full of shit, and that goes for pretty much everything.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
We have heard a lot of bits of information, a lot of news nuggets that we want to definitely focus on, a lot of some misinformation as well. But we want to digest all of this right now with our terrific panel here and our reporters. Jeff Zeleny, I want to start with you. You are at the White House. Before I get to you, I just want to say, for the record, since we heard President Trump say in the Oval Office that CNN hates our country, CNN does not hate our country. That should go without saying.
If you have to explain it. But no, well, this is just another one of those times when Charlie Foxtrot is just the perfect way to explain it, because you've got CNN going, "We don't hate America," really, because we have receipts.
The best part is some producer had to get into her ear and say, "By the way, remind the people we don't hate America, would you?" That.
How would you like to be the dude with that job? Hey, don't forget, towards the end of this thing, you have to remind them that we really don't hate them. I know we really do. But remember, you have to tell them we don't hate them.
But
you have to do it with a straight face. So fix it now.
It speaks to their awareness, though, because even they know, like, hey, we've screwed the pooch so many times. We have to come out and say this, because other than that, people are going to start believing Trump for some strange reason.
So this is your fault, but this is the joke you just put in my head. They've screwed the pooch so often, the pooch filed for a restraining order.
Oh, man. So my next story I want to get to, and I don't want to get to the whole legal aspect of this because I want to stick to the comedy. We got about 15 minutes left. Imagine you were this guy. Hold on. You went to a meeting with immigration to find out if you could stay in the country, if you were going to get your citizenship, and you sit down and say, well, am I going to get my citizenship? And the cops team starts to play it.
Well, you see, about your citizenship, these guys over here are going to help you with that.
What? So am I going to be a citizen? Bad boys, what you gone? That's not good. Can you imagine? What better way to tell somebody no than to have ICE show up and deport you?
So let's see. How long ago was that? Is the statute? I think the statute of limitations is passed. So in Oklahoma, ICE used to run green lights. So did private security. I had a friend who worked in a packing plant, and he was pissed off because he had all these people in there that couldn't speak English that he knew were illegal. And this was in the late 90s.
Right.
Dude used to be like, can you guys just come around, a couple times a day and just, right as it starts getting dark so they can see the light and just pull in the parking lot and hit the light? I'm like, sure, fuck it. We drive right by there anyway. You're one of the bosses, which technically means I have permission to be on your property. So we would, dude. Anyways,
Jesus.
He showed me, because they had cameras. He showed me the back of the building footage one time when Ed, like half the was just diving out of the back of the window. I was amazing. I mean, keep in mind, this was in the 90s. You want to know how long and how bad this has been? That's what you need to know. This was happening in 1998.
I remember really quick. We used to have to do a detail on the ports when all the ships would come in, specifically from the Dominican Republic and Haiti, to pick up junk steel to recycle it or whatever. And we'd have to do a gangway detail. And just the rule was nobody can come off the ship. Very few ships allowed people off. There were some ships from Iceland and Norway that would come in and deliver stuff. There people get off, but none of these people had the documentations to get off. So they weren't, with the exception of 2 or 3 to work the ground side of the ship. The rest of them had to stay on. And these were just big freighter ships. And I can remember one time, you always knew when a ship was in dock because we always had somebody posted there. I'm driving down Route 99. And all of a sudden I see about 3 or 4 not very well-dressed Dominican guys run by me, Hispanic guys. And then a couple more, and then a couple more. And all of a sudden the radio goes off and it goes spastic. There's units coming from everywhere. The sirens coming from everywhere. Come to find out, they waited until the guy doing the detail literally turned his back, and they all started jumping off the side of the ship at the same time.
Oh my God.
It was like 25 or 30 people that were working. 4 of them snapped their legs on the dock jumping off the ship. So they were dealing with that. There were bodies, and the yards they were in junk recycling yards that they ran into and then were trying to get out of. And if you've ever been into a steel junk recycling yard with cars and everything else stacked up, you want to talk about a needle in a pile of hay. It was ridiculous. I got another story. This one's meant to piss you off.
And you're saving this till the end of the show. Thanks,
Oh,
man.
no. The funny one comes to the end. I'm going to piss you off here because I'm almost positive a cat wrote this for Mother Jones. Dogs have extensive and multifarious environmental impacts, disturbing wildlife, polluting waterways, and contributing to carbon emissions, new research. They're going after dogs.
Well, this is because Mother Jones secretly wants to eat them.
And I responded to that post and I said, did a cat write this? Like, this is the most ridiculous. You're going to take away man's best friends. And I'll tell you right now, few things in this world can get people from both sides of the aisle to sit down and actually agree upon something. 90% of people in this country agree dogs are awesome. You have the 10% that are weirdos. And for both sides of the aisle. Look, when I used to go to the dog park with my dogs, the only time I would ever talk to the crazy little liberal lunatic would be if I was talking about their dog. That was the only thing we'd have in common, and we all got along fine for it. And they want to take that away, further dividing this country. Thanks, Mother Jones.
So speaking of it, I don't have it, but have you seen the reel of the reel that it starts out and it says when your Asian girlfriend cooks dinner? Have you seen that one?
No.
So it's an Asian chick and there's a black dude and he's walking in. He's like, damn, baby, something smells good for dinner. What's this? So she makes him a bowl real quick and they're eating and he's realizing he's getting full. So he's like, hey, Fido, come here. Hey, Fido. He's looking at her. I go, where's the dog? She looks at him, looks at the bowl, looks at him, looks at the bowl, and it tastes the black. Right as you see his face going, oh, damn, I'm eating my dog.
Oh, man. That's hysterical, though. I love when people have a great sense of humor like that. It makes me smile. This is going to be from the files of It's Always the Ones You Least Expect. New Mexico man charged with just local GOP arson attacks. Crimes have consequences. Can you believe, Rick Robinson, in all your years that you've been on this planet, that somebody wearing blue lipstick would do such a thing? A guy, nonetheless.
Oh, how is that even possible? I thought the blue lipstick people were so cool. No, not really. I don't know.
When I first saw his picture, I said, why was he not the first person they interviewed? Like, this should have been over within an hour. He should have been walking down the street near the incident. Somebody saw the blue lipstick and was like, well, there he is. That's 100% him.
I mean, a few more pounds and he'd look like one of the psychos from the original Dune movie.
Oh, man. Real quick, and then we're going to get to the fun one. Liz Warren, this video. This is, God. I actually thought this was a joke at first. Hold on.
We should have a rule that no one in Congress can trade in any individual stocks. No senator, no representative. I've had that bill for a long time. It's got a lot of support. In fact, it's got some bipartisans.
Rick.
We should also have a rule that a white woman can't pretend to be an Indian to take somebody else's education away from them.
I actually said under that post, I remarked, I speak Pocahontas. Let me translate for you. My friends and I have made a ton of money in the stock market, but we see the writing on the wall, and now we want to change direction, and we already have our money, and you can't take it away.
I mean, technically, they can. The government's really getting good at clawbacks, so I wouldn't say they can't take it away. They might try, but I mean, look, this has been, and again, this is a feature, not a bug. Almost every aspect of your life is not about what you know, but who you know. So if we're going to change it, then we're going to have to fundamentally change it. But the thing that pisses me off is this happens every single time. When somebody finally gets there and they figure out a way to get wherever it is that they think they want to go, the first thing they try to do is pull up the drawbridge behind them. I don't care that Congress critters insider trade. What I would like to be able to do is find a way to track their trading so that I know when to buy and when to sell.
And
That's what I want to do.
there's the Pelosi stock tracker who, I'll tell you what, they mirror every single move that she makes, and it's amazing what their return has been. Not shocking, just amazing. And there's a big difference. All right, let's get to the let's just get right down to it. Rick
Is it-
Robinson.
Is it time for lesbian space witches, the next
It is
generation?
time for lesbians. Blue Origin sent a whole bunch of women to space, which I think it's real sexist of them that they didn't let any of them drive.
I mean, would you let them drive?
What, you mean Gail's not a professional? I thought she did everything according to Oprah. I love this post by the Babylon Bee. Space returns unwanted Amazon delivery. That was brilliant. But I think what really takes the cake is Katy Perry has returned from space, and Wendy's responded, "Can we send her back?"
Dude, Wendy's has had like fire social media game for almost as long as there's been social media.
It's amazing to me. Rick, should we care if a whole bunch of rich people get to go up into lower space and then claim that they are somehow astronauts?
Oh, well, I mean, they're more like astronauts, but that's,
Neither here nor there.
Should we care? Nah, not really. I mean, I'll be honest. I saw the story and I'm like, I don't really care. And then it dawned on me. I was like, wait a minute. He just sent like 8 women to space. He's trying to do Disney a solid and make lesbian space witches an actual thing.
Well, and it's, somebody equated this to a roller coaster ride. They said this is just a really expensive roller coaster ride. They weren't driving it. They didn't train for months. All they talked about, apparently, like Katy Perry was talking about, like how her training, they learned how to get in and ingress and egress and how to restrap themselves in their seats. So when they came back down, they could do that. It blows my mind. Look, is it cool that normal people are getting to technically go to space? When I say normal people, I mean non-astronauts. Yes.
I was about to say, you and I have different definitions of normal.
No. But I mean non-astronauts, because I still think that astronauts are in their own class far and away. And actually, I want to talk about one in a second. But they make hype out of these people. It's all women. Bezos went, by the way. Wasn't he on the flight? Nobody talks about that. I'm pretty sure he was on the flight.
I mean, if he's there and it's still all women. Oh, wait.
Okay. But here's the thing that really kind of pisses me off. You have all these headlines about those idiots going into space. Here's a guy who went to space for NASA last week, and he's aboard the International Space Station as we speak. Perhaps you've heard of him, maybe you're not. Johnny Kim is the astronaut. Johnny Kim was in the Navy. He was a Navy SEAL. He graduated BUDS, and he was assigned to team number 3 with a rating of special warfare operator. He deployed twice to the Middle East and over 100 combat missions as a combat medic, sniper, navigator, and point man. During his tenure of the SEALs, Kim served with the PO2 Mark Allen Lee and Michael Mansour. In 2009, Kim was accepted to the STA 21 commissioning program, where he graduated from the University of San Diego, and he left the United States Naval Reserve Officer Training Corps and entered the Medical Corps. By the way, after all of that, Johnny Kim decided to go to Harvard Medical School, where he became a physician. That wasn't good enough for the man who was born to Korean immigrants, and that he didn't rest on his laurels after graduating and becoming an actual doctor. No, then he became an astronaut. I need to ask you this question. How many lifetimes would it take a normal person to succeed in all of those things in the same timeline?
Probably about 7.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's funny because I've heard about Johnny Kim when he first got into the astronaut program a couple of years ago. And you look at, and even his astronaut patch, share this page instead. He has a SEAL trident on his patch. He gets to wear that when he goes to space. The man is the epitome of the word badass. and he got 1/10 of the coverage that those 8 idiots got who paid their way into space, and then Katy Perry kissed the ground when she landed, and the ground didn't like it.
There's a reason, though.
What?
16 boobs versus none.
And with that, Rick Robinson, tell everyone where they can find you.
Well, I'll be off tomorrow because it's tax day. I was actually supposed to be off tonight, and then you're like, if you want to join, I was like, I can. Yeah, I'll be there. So, yeah, I was only a little off tonight. Shut up.
I had to get the vein tapped.
Yeah, shut up, Jeff. I know I'm always a little off. Anyway, so back starting. So I'll be doing Manorama tomorrow night, assuming I get taxes done in time. And even if I don't, I still have like an hour and a half to finish when we get done. So it's not a big deal. And then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week, be doing the Rick Robinson show. Wednesday night, Full Boat. So everything, just go check the KLR radio calendar. Thursday night, Jen and Rick. Then Friday night, he said, she said. And then I think, we also have, and this one's a little further down the road, but you can check it out on, everybody's starting to share it. We have the Alice in Wonderland play from the KLR radio players coming out. I think it's next Friday, but I don't have the date in front of me. So make sure you guys are checking out for that. That'll be our first official live one that we're streaming 2X as the starting point. We've been running test feeds on some of the ones we've done before on X, and they've gotten really good numbers. So we're curious to see what happens with a live one. You can find me at RadioX73. I also contribute to MisfitsPolitics.com, Twitchy.com, and TheLoftusParty.com. And the Loftus Party podcast, which I produce, will be dropping tomorrow. How about you? Where can folks find you?
Right here every Monday and Wednesday on the SHR Media Network, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. And I do make appearances on great shows like the BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon that's on Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. I have yet to make an appearance on Mission Ready Men that's on Tuesdays, a little knock right there in Big E. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. on the Pacific, 12 on the East Coast. I have made appearances on Monday and Friday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 East Coast on the Reaver of Common Sense with Jersey Joe. And I've been on a bunch of other shows as well. You can follow me on X at the number 2 Against Tyranny. Rick, thank you, buddy. I really appreciate you jumping on with me tonight.
Not a problem, man. Have a great night.
You too, brother. And that's going to be it from me. I will be back Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. Thanks for joining us tonight. Please like and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated.